Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Go Rome, the host and the producer of the worldwide podcast of The Rome Show, powered by CT's Update Media. And I got Dan here from CT Politics. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good.
It's nice to meet you. We'll probably want to speak up because it is kind of loud in here, huh?
Okay. So yeah, we finally meet in person.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. I'm a big fan of your podcast, and you have a lot of interesting artists on.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Appreciate it. I love what you're doing with the CT Politics, the streaming, everything that you're doing. What made you do that?
Well, I started in politics about 25 years ago. I did an internship up at the Capitol, and from there I went to work on some of the largest Democrat campaigns, statewide for the Jepsen for Governor campaign. And from there, I went on to work for the public unions and the Connecticut State Employees Association as an organizer. That led to the Courtney for Congress campaign, and I did his field operations for that. And I did that for about 5 years before I retired to go run my business. And I'm a contractor. I do a lot of construction work. I've been licensed in Connecticut, New York City, and Fishers Island, New York. And then when the big recession hit, I started to try to reinvent my business, but it was really difficult. And I noticed that at the legislature that there was an imbalance between Democrats and Republicans. There was a Democrat majority, and they weren't really helping small business as much as I like. So I switched parties to Republican in 2011 and went to work on the Republican side. And I flipped the entire city of Norwich Republican and started a radio show, CBS radio show on WJJF, which started as a 10-minute segment called Political Class. And then it became the Dan Neumeyer show, which started for an hour and then went to 2 hours. And I had people that I had worked with in politics on all the time. And I had both parties on because at that point I'd worked for both sides. And it was very successful, and that ran about 3 years. And so in 2018, I kind of left that at the top and started to mess around with doing podcast video stuff, right? Well, it was a little more difficult than I thought, and it took a lot more effort to get things going, and I really wasn't sure where I was going to go with it, right? But I started to hear about this new technology with Roku, Amazon, and Apple Television, and started an actual TV channel. So that's how that got going.
That's a lot to get from then all the way to now. It's a lot of stuff you've been doing.
Yeah, and I'm a political strategist by trade. So what that means is I run people's campaigns, and I organize, and I try and get more people of my party elected, more Republicans elected. But I'm very careful about who I work for. I want to work for good people. I don't want to work for people who aren't ethical or shouldn't be in there.
Right.
Those types of things.
Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to say, so the channel, it's been since 2018, so it's been about 5 years. And a lot's happened then, and it just developed over time. And it's still a work in progress. But after this past election cycle, I had worked for the Independent Party, and I worked for Dr. Amy Chai on a congressional race in New Haven, and I also worked for Rob Hodling, who ran for governor against Lamont and Bob Stefanowski. From there, I decided that people were very divided, and it used to be we could talk about politics without getting in arguments, without being disrespectful.
Right.
We'd hear the news, we'd go out and have a good time together, even though that we were from different parties. And that's how issues get solved. right? And nowadays, people are very disrespectful. They don't want to talk anymore. They take their own sides on things. So I wanted to kind of bring everybody together, and CT Politics, the show, which is my show on the channel, is an effort to do that, where I interview people on both sides of the aisle and try to get to know them and what they're about, and in the hopes that we can get back to talking about issues and problems, so we don't get taken advantage of by one side or the other.
Right. So I know you got Joe Aguirre working with you, Amy Chai. How exactly did you guys come together?
Oh, well, that's a good question. Thanks for asking. Joe Aguirre, well, I'll start back. I was working for the Rob Hoteling campaign for governor, and then I switched up about halfway. We were seeing differently, and Rob had a different path he wanted to go to, and that was in early July of 2022. And at the same time, I met Dr. Amy Chai, and she and I hit it off, and she was running her congressional race, and she was having some issues with her political consultant, and asked if I would help her campaign. So in the midst of that, I had done some time filling in for Paul Pacelli on WICC 600 AM, and my producer, Eric Urbanowitz, Eric Urbanowitz, #1 producer. He was a great radio producer. He still worked there, and he was working with Joe Aguirre. And I said, look, I got these candidates I'm working with, and I'd love to get them on the radio. And I said this to Eric, and he talked to Joe and said, yeah, Dan's a great guy and everything. He's a political strategist. And Joe Aguirre was like, Dan who? Dan what? He thought I was just some guy, right? So he had me on the radio to talk to him, and we hit it off really big. So then he started to have all the different candidates I was working with on his show. And he was filling in long term for Lisa Wexler. So she had a pretty big following. And during that time, I was making some political moves, and I was bringing some guests on that were very controversial and getting certain people really upset. So during that time, Joe was great. He and I became very close, good friends. And I said, look, you do podcasts and stuff, and why don't you produce a couple of shows and for CT Politics, you can come on and be an anchor and do some interviews. And that's how that got started. And Dr. Amy Chai, I was working with her campaign, and she wanted to produce videos, podcasts on health and arts and things surrounding New Haven. So she created Speak Life New Haven podcast, which she has now, but she didn't have a studio. So I said, look, if you're going to be doing all these shows, I'm a contractor. I said, you need to get really good gear, and you need to get the right stuff first, because you probably learned that you can buy a lot of stuff, but it's not always the right stuff. You know what I mean? So then you end up buying more stuff and more stuff and more stuff, and then you have all this stuff, and finally you figure out what works and what's good. And so I've done that myself, and I said to Dr. Chai, I said, look, this is what I would do. She had a great space in her basement, and we built a really great studio with really good gear for her, and now she's producing these shows. But at the time, she needed to produce video and stuff for the campaign. So what I did, which was kind of tricky, instead of us paying for services from other people, we built the green screen studio as the campaign. I was running the campaign, right? And I was also building the studio at the same time, producing the videos and the whole thing without her having to worry about it. So it was a lot of work to get that done. And then the result was she was able to produce the videos she needed for the campaign, and had a studio left over afterwards, which then turned into her show and that. So that's kind of how that all came together. So you know Joe too, huh?
Yeah. He was my teacher at CSB, and he helped me out a little bit too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he showed me, took me inside like iHeart, a little bit behind the scenes.
Sure.
I met Courtney, Walmart Jeff. He showed me like the ESPN studios and all that stuff. And he showed me everything. Kind of put a battery in my back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed you put a lot of heart and soul into your work, and so I'm hoping that maybe you can put some shows together, some interviews, and we can get you up on TV.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That'd be pretty cool.
So what's some new things that like CT Politics that you guys haven't done yet that you could talk about that you want to do?
Well, I don't know how much you've followed along, but basically my interviews follow kind of the same path. It's getting to know people and getting to know what they're about. And I focus on politicians, mostly state level. Some of the big mayoral races, we had Mayor Ganim of Bridgeport, which people feel differently about, because of his past. But he and I get along really great. All the guests who come on, I get along with, and they're on both sides of the aisle. So that's my first focus, is to have guests who are in state politics during the session, so we can find out what they're doing, what bills they're working on for us, and engage them on those bills. The second focus I have is on journalists, right? So I learned early on as a political strategist that I need information about what's happening in politics. I need information about campaigns, about other politicians. And there's certain journalists that are around the Capitol who have been doing that for decades and really know all the ins and outs because they write about those stories every day or they report on TV and news.
Right.
So, the other fact that I learned was that a lot of newspapers are closing. A lot of big corporations, hedge funds are buying up small newspapers and then just getting rid of them, right? They want to take out the competition, and there's a lot of news that goes unwritten. So I wanted to support journalism, especially independent journalism. A lot of the people at the Capitol who do a great job, and try to encourage young people to have a path into journalism if they like that, to write about stories, because we need more journalists, right? And it's a tough job a lot of times, but if you like it, like you like to go out and do interviews and stuff, right? So at some level we're kind of video journalists in a way. We go and we meet people and we tell a story about it. So that was my second focus. And then I also like to have other people in media, like radio hosts, and I just did a interview with Todd Feinberg of WTIC 1080, and he and I have been just laughing about the video because it started out with 20, 30 views yesterday, and I think we're up to over 800 now.
That's a lot.
So it's really going viral, and he's very opinionated on politics. He doesn't like the government very much, but he has a big following. And I'm very controversial to hard right Republicans and to fringe left Democrats. So us getting together has kind of stirred up some controversy. Like, what? Those guys are talking now? What's going on? Why is Dan hanging out with Todd? Or why would Todd ever hang out with Dan. So that's been fun. So those are the kind of the two major focuses. But then I'm also trying to develop the channel, and I'm doing business profiles. So if you have a small business and you want to be on TV, not just on the channel, but we do what's called OTT ads, which are on tablets, smartphones, Apple, Roku, Amazon, on all the major networks. And for less than $1,000, we can put almost 5,000 ads, commercials into zip code targeted areas. So let's say you have a podcast in Middletown, and you want everybody who's watching TV and everybody to know about it. For less than $1,000, you can run your own commercial, 30-second commercial, which will appear on Fox News, it'll appear on the Food Network, it'll appear on History Channel, it'll appear you can saturate a small area with thousands of ads and really raise the profile of your small business, your podcast, if you're a car dealer, any of those things. Even if you're a politician, you want everybody to know who you are. So doing business profiles for CT Politics channel is one of my focuses. And like Dr. Amy Chai, like Joe Petrina with Hoodwinked, they have a category or a show on CT Politics TV channel, right?
Okay. Yep.
And they have a landing page, and on that landing page, they're able to post their own videos, and then if they want to play them in the 24-hour feed, they can. And that's kind of how that works. So that's another area that I'm developing with the channel. I guess what I would like to do in the future is I would like to go more on location and visit businesses and do business profiles, take video and put that together to build the commercials, build the landing pages. So if you have a landing page and a website, our landing page looks like your website and works with your website. So people can go on and to CT Politics TV, there's your page that looks like your website, and they can watch your videos and engage with you that way, and also go to your website, and it all seems like the same thing, right? So that's kind of where I'm headed with those things.
So basically, CT Politics is going to be the biggest independent network in Connecticut.
Well, we're trying to do that. That's what I'm hoping for, is that, and it gives a lot of people like us, a chance to be on television and to get the word out about their business and everything else.
Right. And being a politician and podcasting and what you do you get any sleep, or like between 3 to 5 hours?
Yeah, I'm able to get enough rest, and I probably sleep 5 to 7 hours a night. And but it's busy, right? I'm running out and doing a lot of stuff, and the channel always takes a lot of work because it's a work in progress. It doesn't happen overnight, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of changes. Problems come up with things, and you got to solve them quick. So we're growing, and it's getting bigger.
Right. Love everything y'all doing. I like to ask my guests motivational questions. So on an off day, what's a few things you do to feel back on?
So I'm sorry, I missed that because the music's loud.
Yeah,
Say it again?
seems like they turned it up a little bit louder on purpose.
I think they want to move us along.
Right. But like on an off day, what's a few things you do to make yourself feel back on?
Yeah, well, I like to do Japanese karate, Shotokan karate. That's I do that a couple times a week. And my kids both did that for years, and I did martial arts when I was younger, but I'm getting back into it. I get pretty achy now as an old guy. I'm 58.
Okay.
So I like to do that. I like to find interesting restaurants. I have a lake behind my house, and I have a raft that I can go out on and float around and have a drink and get a suntan and do some swimming.
That must be nice.
Types of things. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty nice. I don't live too high, you know. It takes a lot of work, and I don't need too much either. I have a really nice chopper motorcycle that I'm working on, and I drive a Ford Mustang in the summertime, a 2002 black Mustang that I like to drive, and it goes pretty good. So those are some of the things I like to do.
Not to be too personal, but the lake, did you get it built or it was like that?
Well, it's an interesting question. The lake was there, and we bought property on it, and being a contractor, over 2 years I built a whole beach with boulder stone walls, and it slopes down from the backyard, so I had to clear all the trees and all the land. And I've really done a lot of really big construction work here and also out on Hawaii, on Maui. So you'll see a lot of times on my posts, I'll post pictures of Maui and Hawaii as I'm going, oh, I wish I was in Maui. And I wear sandals a lot, right? So I like to you know, get in the Maui vibe and chill out, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I like to do.
Right. And you guys are on Apple TV, Roku,
Amazon Fire,
all that.
Yep, and then ctpolitics.tv is the website.
Okay.
That has the main feed, which is on Roku, Amazon, and you can also find all the shows on demand there too, with the different categories for our different shows that we do. So Dr. Amy Chai's there, Hoodwink with Joe Petrina's there, Clovercrest Media, which is Joe Aguirre's show, is there. And so that's the way that people can engage and find particular interviews or shows. Or they can watch the 24-hour a day feed, and that's where commercials appear and stuff like that, which are state-based.
A lot of good things. What's your recent project that you're promoting right now?
Well, there's two. One is I went out and I interviewed Andy Tebolt, who is the editor and publisher of the Winstead Citizen newspaper. And that just got started up. Ralph Nader, a former presidential candidate and consumer advocate, started the paper to have a hometown newspaper again. And in an age like we talked about, how newspapers are going away, he's trying to start one up, and it's got the best journalists in the country working on it, top-notch photographers and artists doing cartoons in it. And so it's something I really support. So I went and I visited the paper, and we went out to lunch, and I have some more video that I'm working on to boil down into another show or two from that. And I'm really supportive of what they're doing out there. So that one was one, and WTIC's Todd Feinberg was another one that we did the other day, and he and I have been chatting quite a bit now, and that one is getting really great reviews. It got about 800 views over a day, over a 24-hour period, and it's still going up. So we're kind of, both of us are kind of amazed at why that is, and he's said they'd like to have me on the show, so I'll probably go there and we'll set up cameras there while we do a radio show.
Sounds like fun. That'll be dope. Anybody with a business that wants to get on CT Politics, how can the best way to reach you?
They can reach me through the website at ctpolitics.tv. There's a form you can fill out there, and then I'll usually get back to you pretty quick. And then whether you want to build a studio, a green screen studio, I can consult with people on what they need to do that correctly with the right stuff first, the right time. And there's different size studios, as you know, right? Not everybody needs a big studio like Dr. Chai has. But to get a good product, you need to have lighting, and you need to have the right cameras and stuff like that. And it's not too expensive to do that. And then whatever your goals are for producing a show or a podcast, I discuss that with clients, how they can best do it. And then I offer different packages that start at $2.99 a month. And for that, you get a landing page on CT Politics that connects to your website. You get to do 4 shows a month that will appear on TV and also go into your category so people can find you on demand. And then there's packages that go up from there if you want to do more shows per week, if you want to have more shows on, if you want to put together commercials that run for your show on TV, we can do that. If you want to use the targeted advertising like I talked about, we can sell those packages. If you want to sponsor CT Politics TV and have your logos and stuff in the background, and we have the ticker across the bottom where you can add your stuff to that. That's all very reasonable to do. So these are different ways that businesses or podcasters can come in, starting at a kind of a low price at the beginning, and then it depends how much you want to grow and how big you want to get it. Some people start small, other people come in, if you want a show to air at 7 o'clock Tuesdays and Thursdays, I can make that happen where it streams in, breaks into the 24-hour feed. That way your customers or your people watching your videos or your show on a weekly basis know that, it's 7 o'clock, Rome's going on, and on Tuesday and Thursday we can see the show or whatever. So those are different ways that people can get involved with it.
Nice. Maybe this episode could be sponsored by CT Politics.
I think it probably could.
We'll see. Appreciate you for doing this. We got to do another episode.
Well, it's very nice to meet you. I really appreciate you coming out, and happy to take the time to meet you. And who knows, maybe you'll join the channel with us, and we'd be glad to have you. You do some great interviews with artists and stuff, and that seems like a good direction you're heading in.
Yeah.
So we always want to help people who are just starting out.
Hopefully, I'll be interested.
All right, that's good.
Peace out.